So we finally got all of the polyurethane on the cabinets, and they've been drying for well, for about a week, I guess, or so. So the finish is pretty firm now. Not fully cured, of course, but cured enough that we can go to the next phase, which is rubbing it out. To polish it to a nice smooth finish. Once again, I'm going to be sticking with a basically it's a matte finish, but I'm going to smooth it out, get any little imperfections out of the surface and so on. So here's one that I've already started, and I'll show you a second. Here's the other. So as you can see, they're looking really good. And actually, it's too bad the finish, just as it is actually really really nice, but of course there's just little dust specks and things like this in there that we're going to want to get out. And so so there's really no way to avoid doing the you could leave it this way, of course, if you're not super particular about that, but again, I want these to be really furniture quality finish. And so I've done a couple of sides on this one, so I'll just try to give you a look if I can. So you can see, or I think you can anyways, we're still at a matte finish on this. If I can get the right angle here, you can see, you can actually see the little reflection in here when, it's pretty much mirror smooth if you go at it at a real angle. And you can see that all the imperfections right out there. This is a really, really nice finish. And here it is from above. And you can see that it is, it's still, it's not a glossy finish at all. You can see here I've got light directly above here, but you can see this is super smooth. You can still see the kind of matte finish here. Not a high gloss finish. So I think that's going to look really nice when the whole thing is done. It's again glass smooth, not a not a bump in it or anything like that anywhere. What I'm using to do that is basically I've just taken some 1500 grit, a 1500 grit sanding sponge with water, just to very lightly go over the surface to knock down any of those little dust bumps. And then I'm polishing it with my using my orbital sander. This is a Scotch-Brite pad, basically, and this is a fine finish. It's not like an ultra fine. That's what the white one does. But this one here, when you go over the surface on with the orbital sander, you can see the white residue on here. So this just kind of takes out any, if there's any brush marks, let's say, or just differences in the sheen. This will kind of just knock the whole thing down to like one even, fairly matte sheen across the surface. And you kind of got to just take your time and go. I go with the grain up, just slowly up and down, in line with the grain. And like I said, that takes it to sort of a fairly uniform matte finish. And then I go with this one, which is an ultra fine. This is actually not a Scotch-Brite brand pad. It's a Norton. Norton is the brand of this one, and it's an ultra fine, and it says on the package. Actually, I've got the package here. So you can see on here, this is what it says. It replaces 4/0 steel wool. I like this better than I actually have steel wool here, but I just started using this one on the buffer. I just think it does, or on the orbital sander, I think it does a better job. You just got to take your time and go. It's not as aggressive as the steel wool, so you just kind of got to take your time and just go slowly over the surface. But of course, the advantage of this pad is that it doesn't leave the the little slivers of steel wool all over the project. So I prefer this, and it's done. It's working out really well. I wasn't happy with the steel wool approach, and this stuff here has just done a great job. you know, as you can see, it's really, really uniform all over, if I can get this to focus in properly. But it's a real good job. So so I'm going to carry on with this and get them all finished, and then basically they are ready to assemble with all the electronics and speakers and whatnot. So I've got the cabinets inside now, and one thing I noticed once I got them inside here in indoor lighting is, you know, despite the fact that the finish came out really well, in general, you can see, I'm going to try to get it here if I can. It's really hard to video in this light, maybe here. Yeah, it's hard to see, but anyways, I'm getting too much reflection, but you can see perhaps around here a little bit. There's still some sort of imperfections in the finish. This is not something that you can feel, but it's more just like a haziness or you know, just a slight difference in the finished sheen on here that then I'd like. And so I thought I was going to be able to avoid this step, but I'm not. So so what I've decided to do is do a final polish on here. And the reason I was hoping to avoid it is I was a little bit nervous about I didn't want to make the finish too shiny, too glossy. But I really don't have a choice. I think it'll still come out to a more satiny finish even after this polishing, but I'm going to do it anyway, and whatever happens happens. Anyway, what I'm using here, I'm going to do this in 2 steps. I'm just using this as a car polish. This is a Mother's brand pure polish. I'll use my Random Orbit polisher here, and then when I'm done that, I'll do a final polish with this one here, just to smooth things out completely. So we'll see how that turns out. Just going to try to get a shot of it from this angle again. Yeah, you can sort of see again here just this little bit of haziness, a little bit of cloudiness in the finish. You couldn't see that out in the garage where I was working on these, but when you bring them in under the fairly bright lighting that I've got here, you can see it. And I was really 50-50 on it, but I've decided to heck with it. I'm going to go ahead and polish, and we'll see how that turns out. Okay, so the day's finally arrived to start adding in my electronic components into the speakers. So I've got the other one's not quite finished yet, but I'm going to go ahead and do this one today. So so here we go. So I finished up the cabinet. You can see got it really polished up nice and good now. It looks in this video still a little bit, I guess, glossier than it is. It's very, very smooth and so forth. It's still like, I'd still call it maybe satin versus a full-on gloss, but anyways, came out really nice, and I'm happy with it. So anyways, I've already just started getting some stuff done here, and so I'll just show you the first little bit. So just installed binding posts in here for the connection to the woofer inside the chamber. The original design of this, of course, they just use basically a barrier strip or a terminal strip, whatever you want to call it, to do this, and basically you know, a little cheap connector. So I've decided to do something a little bit better than that on mine, and so I've got these loaded up in here, and of course they'll extend down into the inside the woofer chamber for the connection in there. And I'll be using I've got some nice high quality rhodium plated spade connectors to connect to here and back to the crossover network. Okay, after a fair amount of agony here, I've got finally got the woofer mounted inside the chamber. you can see the other side of the binding posts here now, and I've made some connecting wires with some 12 gauge wire here, some half decent wire. This was a failed pair, but this is just an example. So I have ring terminals, gold-plated ring terminals on the inside of these to connect to the binding posts, and they're held on with gold-plated nuts and lock washers and so on. So that'll make a really secure connection inside that shouldn't ever come loose. And obviously then connected with these you know, typical spade type terminals on the speaker end, and these are really secure. Actually, I had a hard time getting them on, which was in hindsight, I probably would have done this a little bit different. I wanted the wires to be short, and so I put the terminals towards the top, but it's a little hard to get it's access to, and so in retrospect, I might have run the wire down and put them on this side for future access. But hopefully I won't ever have to go in here again once I get everything sealed up, and it should be good. But if I were going to build these a second time, I'd probably do it the other way. But anyways, done for now, and on to the next step. Okay, so I'm ready to seal up the woofer chamber now. Just a look from the other side, a little bit brighter. You can see down here again where we're connected to the binding posts with the ring terminals. I've added a little retaining clip here, just to make sure that wire, just to take up any slack in the wire, make sure it doesn't move around and tap or anything like that inside the chamber. I don't think it would have anyway, because it's quite short, but nonetheless, just better to be safe. So I and not have to remove this again. So I just went ahead and did that, and now we're ready to seal up. So I've got the bottom ready. What I did is I just put some tape around here, just when I measured, just for the positioning of the bottom, which I'll put on here in a second. And I drilled, once I got everything lined up square, just drilled or put screws, in the four of the corners here, just to mark the position. Got rope cock here, very similar to what would have been again on the original, just to seal this up. And so once I put the bottom on, of course, and screw it all down, this will seal everything up perfectly. And I'll put the screws in just to mark the position again, so that I can lay it right down and I won't move it out of place. Just one thing, in the rope cock I used anyways came in little strips. So just make sure if you're doing this and you're using something like it, just make sure you overlap so you don't have any gaps here in the seal. Other than that, that's basically it. And I've got the bottom here ready to go, and I'll put that on and hopefully never have to look at the inside of this chamber ever again. All right, so my first attempt at this didn't work properly, and so what I had expected to happen was for the rope cock to be compressed when I put the bottom on and screwed it down. What actually happened was it didn't compress very much at all, and so I wasn't happy. There was a gap between the bottom and the actual bottom cover and the bottom of the speaker, which just was too much. And so I decided to take it off again and do this. So basically what I've done here now is I've used my little roller here just to flatten this out somewhat, before I put the cover on, and just just compress it down. It compresses really easy, which is why I'm surprised that the bottom didn't compress it, but it doesn't. So so I've just taken this and rolled it out. I don't know how thick it is. It's not very, but thick enough that it's still going to make a good seal. Just to be extra careful too on this one, what I'm going to do, I just started it here, just put an extra piece here, but I'm gonna put a second flattened out seal right around the cutout here for the woofer as well, and that way, there's anything, there shouldn't be any leaks, let's put it that way. So so I think this will do, but just another word of warning, if you're using this type of material, didn't compress as much. I suspect the same thing would happen. I've got I had some weather stripping here as well that I was considering using, roughly the same thickness as the rope cock out of the package, and yeah, once I looked at this too, I thought it won't compress either. You're going to have the same sort of an issue. Maybe if it's you don't care about that stuff or it won't bother you. I just didn't like it, so I've changed it, and I think this should work out quite a bit better. The only thing you want to watch out for is that you don't flatten it too much to the point where where you possibly get a leak. I'm pretty comfortable. I haven't done that anywhere, so it should be fine. And here's the finished product. So it's on there now after I flattened out that rope cock, and you can see it's on there. Everything's there nice and square. See the nice large feet there, and that'll I think do a good job just to help support it, obviously, but also just make it a little easier for moving around here in the space, if positioning, anything like that. You can see just down here again, there's still that slight little gap all the way around. That's okay. That's obviously because of the seal. It was just much larger than that on my first attempt, and this is fine. And of course, that's sealing up the bottom from any air leaks and different things like that. Also, provides a little bit of isolation, I guess, from the horn section from the actual bottom as well. So all in all, I think that should work out pretty well.